A lot of my fans have been asking about what's my favorite belt, which belt means the most to me. So today on Tito Ortiz Uncaged, we're gonna break them all down, and I'm gonna let you guys know which one is my favorite. So my first belt that I won, and this is the one that has to mean the most to me because I won it after a year and a half of competition. UFC 25, April 14th against Wanderlei Silva in Tokyo, Japan. And as you can see, it says middleweight. This is before they made light heavyweight. They had lightweight, they had middleweight, and they had a heavyweight in 2000. This was pre-Zuffa. This is before the Fertittas bought the company. This is before Dana was a part of the company. So the design of this belt is the old school one. This is the first belt that actually they made for UFC. The guy who beat me prior to this fight was Ken Shamrock. He didn't want a rematch, so they had to put the next two top guys, which was me and Wanderlei Silva from Japan. Wanderlei was the champion in Pride, and I was the #1 contender in the United States. So we fought for a vacant belt. This belt probably weighs about anywhere from 7 to 8 pounds. Real leather, real metal. I haven't got a chance to put the title when it was how I won on each side of these, how they normally do. I said I was gonna do it after I got done fighting, so I don't know, 23 years later and I'm still competing, so I still got a lot of place to go with this. But this title right here means the most to me because I did it in a year and a half. All right, so my second title defense was once again at middleweight, and it was against Yuki Kondo. Yuki Kondo actually fought in Japan a lot. He fought in Shudo. The match didn't last that long. He was fast on his feet. I went to go for a double leg, and he hit me with a flying knee right in the chin. I did a backflip and landed on my feet somehow. And I remember grabbing him and telling him, "Is that all you got?" Body locking him and squeezing him to the mat and just smashing him, ground and pound, smash. And then I got a guillotine choke, or excuse me, a cobra choke, and choked him and tapped him out in the first round. John McCarthy pulled me off of him. And it just seemed like a dream to me. It just seemed like things were just happening. I don't want to say easy, but I worked really, really hard. And this is another title that I got. All right, so my third title defense is this belt right here, and it was against a late Evan Tanner. Rest in peace, Evan Tanner. The fight lasted 30 seconds, and I had so much energy after the fight. I remember digging the grave and putting him in there. I had so much energy. I was just like, I jumped up on the ring or on the cage, and I remember Mark Coleman looking over at me and pointing at me, and it just was just a remembrance of hard work paid off. I killed myself for it, and I was like, every fight is this easy? But it wasn't the fights of themselves in general being easy, is what I put into the camp. Not many guys have this. I mean, I can only think there's maybe 7 guys that have these belts from the light heavyweight championship, and I have second to the most besides John Jones. John Jones has the most, but I have second to the most. So for all you newbies, and maybe some of you guys have been around for the last 15 years, you guys think Conor McGregor was the first 2-weight champ. Incorrect. 199 pounds, 205 pounds. When Zuffa bought the company, they asked me what would be the perfect weight class for me. And I said 199 was hard to make, really hard to make. If you can make the weight class 205, it'd be perfect for me. And what they do? They made it 205 for Tito Ortiz. So you guys are looking at the first 2-weight champ. Was it Conor McGregor? Was it BJ Penn? It was Tito Ortiz. But I can go ahead and say that hard work does pay off. From becoming a 199-pound champ to becoming a 205-pound champ, and to continue my reign. This belt is the first establishment of Zuffa and the reign of Tito Ortiz. So my next world title was against Elvis Sinisek.
What you possessed early. Forearm. A wide array of gotta get that arm up. Working on Elvis Sinisek. Combinations and combinations again.
As you can see, The logo's changed up even more. This one's a lot heavier. This one's about 15 pounds. This has some weight to it. Has the buttons so it can be clipped on. I mean, this belt's legit right here. This is one of the legit belts. I'm not saying all of them aren't legit, but it seems like as they get heavier and they're built better, they just have a little more quality to them. But I think that the opponent that I had at the time, Elvis Sinasek, was a striker, a good ground guy. But I mean, those are my strengths. I smashed him in the first round and got another championship belt on my shoulder. Now I'm holding 1, 2, 3, 4 world titles, and I still wasn't done. So at this point, I was 25 years old, top of the world. It felt like it was meant to be. It's hard to really absorb what's going on in your life, personally, financially. Everything is changing. I mean, I was a kid who lived in an apartment, didn't have a car. All of a sudden I had cars, house, money, a little bit of fame, but all that stuff didn't matter to me. What mattered to me was these championship belts. By the time I won this belt, I thought I was pretty polished. And each time I won one of these belts, it just catapulted me to a higher and higher and higher level. And I was the poster boy for the UFC. It was my job, I think, to educate the normal fans of what mixed martial arts was gonna be and where it was going. And I gotta thank the Fertitta brothers, Dana White, for giving me that opportunity back then. So Vito Belfort got hurt due to his tricep. I guess he punched through a window, and they had to replace him with my next opponent. And this is a month before the fight in Las Vegas. And this is right after 9/11. And it was against Vladimir Matyshenko in Las Vegas at the Mandalay Bay. And let me tell you, at that point, I didn't want to lose my belt. I wasn't fighting to win. I was fighting to not lose. And that's a way not to fight. You got to go out there and fight to win. You got to go out there to get your hand raised, not go out there not to lose. And I think this is the first time in my career that I learned that. I won a 5-round decision. I could have finished him a couple times, but I was just kind of get round by round by round. He never took me down. Vladimir Matyshenko, former Pan Am was a gold member for wrestling, and he could never take me down. I was punching, striking with him, body locking him, dumping to his back. He couldn't get away from me. I had him mounted at one time. But this championship belt is once again quality belt, by about 15 to 18 pounds around there. All right, so this title belt, this is against Ken Shamrock, UFC 40. Probably one of the best UFCs that I've ever competed in. Just because anybody knows Ken Shamrock being the world's most dangerous man, being the UFC tournament champion, heavyweight tournament champion, going to WWE, then going over to Pride. And I remember telling Dana, you had to get that fight with me and Ken Shamrock, just because of the hatred we had towards each other. It was real, it was true. We disliked each other. We hated each other. And Dana was able to put the fight together. I was intimidated, I gotta say. I don't get intimidated much. Now I don't get intimidated at all. Just because of who he was, you know, he was Ken Shamrock, the world's most dangerous man. And he looked the part, he looked big, he looked strong, but after 15 minutes of me smashing him over and over and over, referee said no more, they threw in the towel. And I got my hand raised. And this is my 5th championship belt that I won. And now it was time to defend my belt for the last time. I thought I was gonna defend it for a lot more. I wanted to get 10 of these. Randy Couture beat Chuck Liddell for the interim belt. And that was actually the first time an interim belt was introduced to the UFC. This is a way for them to make more titles. I didn't understand it, I didn't get it. But Randy beat Chuck, and Randy came, and that bastard spanked me and took my world title from me.
I ended up in this weird situation, and 30 seconds left in the fight. He's trying to secure a knee bar submission, which I had countered, but couldn't get my foot away, and I'm holding his feet, sitting there, couldn't go anywhere because he's hanging onto my leg, and it just popped into my head.
Was that a first for you?
Absolutely, first and only.
You do get a championship belt if you're the champion and you lose, you get to keep your belt. So I was supposed to keep my belt. They were supposed to give me a belt. And what they did do was give me a belt that was not a light heavyweight championship belt. You could read right there. It says heavyweight championship belt. What ended up happening was UFC gave me a replica. They didn't give me a real belt. They took back the real belt and they gave it to Randy Couture. So UFC, you owe me a belt. I want my belt. I ended up seeing him later on and I said, you know what, Randy? I respect you. You're a true champion. Can you sign this belt for me? So he did. Randy Couture signed it for me. Talking about when the world's over and your belt gets taken away and you can't do nothing about it. I remember the fight being over. I lost a 5-round decision. Randy Couture was a better man. At that time, he's been wrestling longer than I've been alive. He spanked me at the end of the round. Talk about being embarrassed. I remember going back to my hotel room. But I think about it, and before that was, when I walked out to the fight, I had about 15 people in my corner, and it wasn't a problem at all. All the guys supported me. I lost the world title, I went back to my dressing room, and it was my coach and my friend Joshua were there. Everybody else were gone. And talk about a feeling of emptiness, of loneliness. I remember packing my bags and Joshua helping me, and I telling coach, calling Miyama, sorry coach, sorry. So no man, it happens, it happens. It's how you pick yourself up is what's important. There's guys that become champions and they're forgot. People don't remember who they are. This is your chance to make a difference. What you're gonna do after a loss shows way more personality than a person after a win. I remember going back to my hotel room, sitting in the shower, crying. Not crying of pain, I was in no pain. Crying of an abandonment feeling, you know? I lost my world title, I wasn't a world champion anymore. How am I gonna get it back? How am I gonna pick myself up? And it took me a while, you know? I didn't go to the gym for about 2 months. I stayed away from it completely. And then one day I just woke up and said, you gonna let this beat you, or you continue to go on? You gotta understand, it's only been only 4 years into my competition of mixed martial arts. I never did it before. I was still learning. I still wanted to get better and better and better. And I did that. I won some fights, I lost some fights. I fought for a world title again. Chuck Liddell got the better of me, but I still fought. I beat some really good guys. Some really good guys beat me. They became world champions. With the UFC, I did what I needed to do. Becoming middleweight champion, to introducing a new weight class at 205 pounds, light heavyweight champion, to get it taken away by Randy Couture. It sucked, but let me tell you, it was a wonderful ride. I learned so much in this life process of being champion. I wouldn't take anything back at all. I did everything my way. It was tough, it was hard. A lot of things were life-checking situations. Times of I didn't want to get up to train that I had to. I didn't want to go do my runs. I had to because I seen the gold around me. I wanted these belts. I want to continue to hold these belts. Having 1 championship, 2 championships, 3 championships, 4 championships was enough for me. I wanted 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, 9, 10. But there's always a guy out there better. You just got to perform as best you can on that day. Because we're all great athletes. But the person who wakes up in the morning with a smile on their face, those are the ones who are going to win. The ones that put in the hard work. The ones that look behind them and know there's not a rock not unturned. That's what's important of being a great fighter, is putting in smart work. It took me a long time to learn that. You know, it took me another 4 years after I lost my world titles and losing other fights to learn that more is not better. Less can be more, but it's just smarter training. And I took a few pages out of Randy Couture's book of, you know, doing quality over quantity. That's really important in training. But my last belt that I got, it was just recently December, I had an idea. I have all these championship belts. I'm fighting a pro wrestler, Alberto Del Rio, who was a former WWE heavyweight champion. He's fought in Pride before. He's fought in other organizations. But he calls me out and he says he wants to fight me. And you guys got to understand, this ain't a wrestling match to me. I'm fighting for my name. Yes, make good money, but when you step in the cage and you fight, it's not about the money. It's about your name, your recognition, about your legacy. And am I going to lose to a championship pro wrestler? In my mind, I said no. So I put a deal on the table for him. I said, I'll put up one of my championship belts if you put up your championship belt. And he took it hook, line, and sinker. And the world championship belt was the WWE heavyweight spinner belt. And you guys could hear that. This is metal. This is a real belt. After I beat Alberto Del Rio in the first round, 3 minutes and 10 seconds of the first round, he had to give me his belt. And let me tell you, this is a heavy belt. This is like a UFC belt. This is heavy. This is at least 16 pounds, at least. Leather, metal. As a kid coming up, I've always wanted one of these belts. Always wanted, I mean, you can buy a replica, yeah. But get the real belt, I was willing to sacrifice one of my belts for it. And I remember that he wouldn't give it to me. Alberto Del Rio did not hand this to me. He would not hand it to me. He was so mad, he was cussing, pissed, and this and that, and this and that. But his trainer came over and handed it to me. And I gave it to my boys. And then you took time to smile on my boys. This is why I do it. For a piece of leather and a piece of metal. See the happiness of my boys. The happiness that makes me feel. I mean, as a kid, my life is coming full circle. Now I hold a championship WWE belt. And yes, it is real. It's not fake, as they say. This is metal. This is metal. This is a real belt. Wanna know I know it's real? Because Alberto Del Rio did not want to give it to me. He was pissed. So let's add to my collection. The spinner. But I want to get a real one that I won in a match in the WWE. Give me an opportunity, because I'll take advantage of that opportunity. But I don't think I've ever said this though. Alberto Del Rio, thank you for this belt. You're a man of your word. My kids appreciate it. I appreciate it. So thank you for this belt. Hope you guys enjoyed me breaking down my belts. Which one is your favorite? I want to know from you. Post underneath. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Tito Ortiz Uncaged. Hit the notification button. And of course, please hit the subscribe button. We got more Tito Ortiz Uncaged coming to you soon.